Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the part of the lesson that has us looking at two sources and identifying and analyze any forms of bias or issues with fact and opinion. Please remember that you can replay any part of this presentation for detail, clarity, or repetition if you need. And additionally, please remember that your task right here is to answer the key concept questions after either reading or listening to the screencast on the two sources. So please consider these questions about which article has more facts, which article is news story and would likely appear in news sections, which article is an opinion story and would likely appear in opinion section. Do either of the articles demonstrate bias, and if so, explain how in detail? And then, of course, is either of the articles demonstrating bias? Would you consider it ethical bias or not? Explain your answer. So in a sense, we're cultivating an understanding of all the things we talked about in this lesson in the final two sections of this analysis. So let's go ahead and get started with the first reading. This is from a source, Shoulders to Shoulder, Students Protest High School Dress Code. As temperatures and tempers rose in the crowded conference room where the Hanover School Board was meeting Monday evening, several dozen students sitting together in the front rows were blatantly violating the Hanover High School dress code. Senior Amber Schroeder wore a pale pink off-the-shoulder top with a lacy blouse. Senior Chandra Dunley opted for a black cutout shoulder blouse. Senior Jessica Chen sported yoga pants and a t-shirt, and junior Asha Argawa dared to show up in athletic shorts and a tank top straight from cheerleading practice. Compared to the school board members in their suits and ties and professional garb, the young women looked comfortably dressed for the weather. So my question to you as I stand here today is, do I offend you? Ms. Schroeder asked the board members. Are you unable to concentrate on my words and message right now because you are too distracted by my clavicle? The protest at the meeting came after Miss Schroeder's senior picture was rejected for the yearbook because in it she was wearing the same pink off-the-shoulder top she wore Monday, which was specifically banned by the dress code. Miss Schroeder and her parents appealed to Hanover High School principal Marilyn Tesmar, who upheld the yearbook's advisor decision to exclude the photo. Miss Schroeder and her parents then registered a complaint with the school board, alleging the policy was clearly discriminatory under Title IX of the Educational Amendments Act of 1972. Title IX states, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. The school's dress code, which is sanctioned by the school board, specifically states for tops and shirts, quote, no open back, halter, no one shoulder / single shoulder, no off the shoulder, no spaghetti straps, no low cut, end quote. For skirts and pants, it says, quote, no micro minis, no short shorts, no yoga pants, end quote. The dress code also bans clothing displaying any, quote, inappropriate topic, end quote, and also, quote, bare midriffs, end quote, and visible underwear tops or bottoms. Quote, I think that we want for our schools is simply a professional, if you will, atmosphere where every student can be comfortable. School board trustee David Markham said in response to the complaints, quote, a written dress code lets our students and community know what's appropriate and allows for our teachers and staff to enforce the community expectations consistently and fairly, end quote. The students and their allies disagree and want it changed to eliminate any references to types of clothing worn by only females. After reading the list of banned items allowed from a print out the code, Shen asked, quote, how many of those prohibited things actually apply to boys? When was the last time you saw a teenage boy in a halter top or micro mini? I bet most of them don't even know what those things are, end quote. Schroeder's mother, Miss Diane Schroeder, also questioned the fairness of the policy. Clearly, the school district thinks it's easier to police female bodies than it is to address a culture of toxic masculinity that objectifies women, Miss Schroeder said. It's not equitable at all. Girls are the ones being punished the most. Information provided by the school is inconclusive as to whether girls are singled out, but the school reported 37 instances of dress code violations that resulted in disciplinary action in the last school year. The data is not broken down by gender. However, Principal Tesmar said that she has no knowledge or memory of a male student having a senior picture rejected from the yearbook in the 14 years that she has been at Hanover. After over an hour of listening to students and parents speak for and against the dress code, the board moved to table the item for further study and discussion. They expect to make a decision within the next few months. As for Schroeder, she is determined to continue her case against the dress code, but she has elected to have no photo at all in the yearbook and has been refunded the $60 she paid when she ordered her book at registration. Quote, I can't believe that I won't have a yearbook to remember my senior year, end quote, she said. But, quote, I just can't support such a sexist policy, end quote. Pretty interesting reading here, I must say. Let's move on to the next reading analysis, the case for school dress codes. While school uniforms and dress codes have long been a simmering source of contention, at least where students are concerned, the debate is boiling again at the age of Time's Up and #MeToo and Black Lives Matter. It is true, as critics say, that some aspects of dress codes in schools can be considered discriminatory against certain groups, and it is also true that the Supreme Court has found such policies to infringe upon a student's First Amendment rights. But the solution is to rigorously review and revise the policies to align them with constitutional protections and current understandings of discrimination, not to throw them out altogether. To ensure student safety and equity, community standards of decorum, and the efficient running of the school day, schools need policies for student behavior, including dress codes. Now, little evidence suggests, or exists to suggest, that school dress codes were questioned much before the 1960s, although it is likely that teenagers were always trying to get away with some minor violation, other to push the boundaries of authority and fashion. The first instance of a dress code being codified in law was in 1969. Several years earlier, Mary Beth Tinker and her brother chose to wear black armbands to school to protest of the Vietnam War, even though they had been warned that they would be suspended if they did. They were suspended. They sued, and eventually their case, Tinker versus Des Moines Independent School District, came before the Supreme Court, which decided that the school had violated the students' First Amendment rights. Famously, the decision declared that students do not, quote, shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate, end quote. However, the waters became murkier as to what speech a school could or could not control in 1988 when the Supreme Court issued a ruling much more restrictive of student speech and expression. In Hazelwood v. Klemler, the court found that when the principal of Hazelwood High School censored articles about divorce and teen pregnancy in the high school newspaper, he did not violate the students' journalistic First Amendment rights. Specifically, the court said that after Hazelwood, quote, school officials could censor such speech if they could show it was reasonably related to legitimate pedagogical concerns. In other words, if a school could present a reasonable educational justification for its censorship, it would be allowed. As the Student Press Law Center explains, while this decision specifically concerns student media, it has been interpreted to apply to a wide range of student expression, including dress. However, even so, school districts still do not have the right to ban clothing or appearance choices that are considered to be political or religious speech. So, constitutionally, students are allowed to wear garments, like the armbands protesting the Vietnam War, that express a political opinion. They can also wear garments or even styles that express a religious belief, such as a hijab or head wrap, a cross or Star of David necklace, or even a particular hair length or facial hairstyle that is part of their religious tradition. On the other hand, school districts do have the authority to ban clothing that can endanger student safety, such as clothing that displays gang symbols or colors that could incite violence. It also has the authority to ban clothing or symbols that promote illegal behavior, such as drug use or underage drinking, and clothing that is offensive to other groups, such as clothing that has an obscene symbol, graphic, or phrase. Finally, schools can ban clothing that can be demonstrably disruptive to the learning environment, such as a student adorned in a full clown regalia, floppy shoes and all. These types of restrictions are legitimate and frankly just common sense. The problem, of course, occurs in the gray areas. Is a red bandana just a red bandana, or is it a gang symbol? Is a, quote, legalized weed, end quote, t-shirt encouraging illegal behavior, or is it political speech? Are dreadlocks or natural hairstyles dangerous or disruptive, or are they political or religious speech? Is a white pride t-shirt offensive, or is it political speech? Does a yearbook senior picture in which a student poses with a legal gun promote violence, or is it political speech? Does a miniskirt demonstrably disrupt the learning environment, or is it just a stylish fashion choice and the restriction of which could be sexist? These types of questions are exactly why school districts need thorough, carefully considered, and vetted dress codes. No, schools should not be in the business of judging which current styles of fashion fails or wins. But without clear guidelines for students, educators would be spending the time they should be using for teaching trying to adjudicate dozens of these gray area cases a day. It is more than a matter of just having a professional atmosphere in the school. It is a matter of students and educators being able to do the jobs that they are in school for in the first place, teaching and learning. So as you guys can see, these two sources, although they focus on the same topics, do in fact talk about different takes, if you will, on this particular hot topic issue. So your task now is to answer the key concept questions that are presented on your doc, and remember to go from there accordingly. If you need help or assistance with this part, please message me directly and I'll be happy to help. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the lesson.